Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. Let's do the whole darn weekend. Saturday, the 5th of January, is National Keto Day. A lot of people doing the keto diet. It's a big deal. Also, National Bird Day, and I say this every year. Happy birthday to you.
Yes, you do.
Happy birthday to you. Okay, I'll stop. National Whipped Cream Day and National Screenwriters Day. Sunday is National Bean Day, National Shortbread Day, National Technology Day, and National Cuddle Up Day. Which one of those do you think I want to celebrate with you?
Bean Day.
Yes. No, Cuddle Up Day. Bean Day. No. All right, coming up, I do have John Caldwell, author of Anatomy of Victory, Why the United States Triumphed in World War II, Fought to a Stalemate in Korea, Lost in Vietnam, and Failed in Iraq. I'm already very suspect of what we're going to talk about. I'm a big fan of the military, and I love them all, and I support them all, so I hope this goes well. But we've got this new book that's available now. We're going to be chatting with him later in the show.
Want a good laugh to start every day? We do, and you can too. Be sure to follow WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com on Facebook. Every morning we send out our Weird Gift of the Day. You don't even have to buy anything. You can just follow our page and laugh at the bizarre real gift items we find and share every morning. And maybe you can share them with your friends who have a good sense of humor too. We have a link to make it easy to find us at WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. That's WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com.
Is it a golf course or is it a rehab center? The very final one ever.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know about ever. Maybe we'll come back to it
So
someday.
now the pressure is on.
If we really miss it,
I got
we
to
might come
end
back.
on an up note.
Yes. Crossroads, Phoenix, Arizona. Is it a golf course or is it a rehab center?
I'm hoping it's a rehab center because that's a cool name for a rehab center.
It is a rehab center.
Okay.
Yeah. Starting now, after this, we're going to be doing a thing at this time called Studies, Surveys, and Such, I think. Or I might change the name. I don't know if I like that. But we're going to talk about a different study or a survey or something at this time. But first, we're going to get something else. We've got Your Brain on Drugs coming right up.
Cable and dish companies keep jacking up their rates. Join the cable cutting revolution with ChannelSurferTV.com. Watch TV with no monthly fee. Our DVR lets you record shows and pause live TV with no monthly fee. Want to stream movies? We have a device for that too. It works with Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, and many other streaming platforms, so you can cut the cable and save a ton of money every month. Learn more at ChannelSurferTV.com. That's ChannelSurferTV.com.
And this is Your Brain on Drugs. Wine connoisseurs already know this. Technically, to be called champagne, the drink must come from the Champagne region of France. Did you know that, Heidi?
I did not.
Everything
know
else
that.
must legally be referred to as sparkling wine.
Really?
Yes, but nobody knows this better than Canadian Daniel McDuff. He was on a Sunwing Airlines flight to Cuba, and he ordered some champagne, but what he was served was just some cheap sparkling wine.
Oh, my.
He seemed to feel that this was worthy of launching a class action lawsuit, which
Oh,
he
my
did.
gosh. Are you kidding?
Sunwing calls the lawsuit frivolous, saying that he
Absolutely.
took to their marketing materials too literally, promising champagne vacations and champagne service. They were describing the overall level of service that one would receive. A lawyer retorts that it's not really all about the pettiness of champagne versus sparkling wine, but instead about the consumer message. They said, you're trying to lure customers and consumers by marketing something, but you're not giving them that. And it's a dishonest practice.
Oh, my gosh.
They're pouring bubbly, but they've wiped out the promise of champagne service from their marketing and their sparkling wine. And some 1,600 people now have joined this suit.
Oh, my gosh. What is wrong with people?
Well, they think there's some money in it for them. At the end of the day, it says, adding insult to injury, the champagne was reportedly served to McDuff in a plastic cup. Whew. Well, how dare you give me a plastic cup on this airline flight? I should have had glass. Really?
There really has to be some sort of law for these frivolous suits where the person filing them is responsible for the other party's attorney fees.
That would be great, but I just think it's really sad that this guy got all worked up because they give him bubbly. It's champagne made in a different place. It's the exact same thing, but just not made in the Champagne region of France. But it's still a sparkling wine. But
that is so unfortunate.
That's what happens when your brain is on drugs, and his must be.
John
Now, big screen, little screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com. Abby Lee Miller will be returning to Season 8 of Dance Moms. Oh, yay. Wait a minute. What the heck is that? Is that a show?
Yeah, I've seen it.
The Reality Star. Have you seen it at all?
I've seen it before.
The Reality Star had quite a year. Miller spent the first part of 2018, so last year, in a federal correctional facility after serving time for bankruptcy fraud. Then in April, she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and then had spinal surgery in June where she had to learn to walk again. So now she's back on this reality show. It sounds like this last year of her life has been almost a reality show. Holy cow. All of that stuff going on in one person's life. I feel bad for the lady. So I hope everything's okay. I've not seen any of the others. This is Season 8 of Dance Moms? I've not seen a single one of them. I didn't even know this was a thing. But apparently it must be doing well or there would not be 8 seasons of it. So if you're a big fan of Dance Moms, good news.
Just because there are 8
Abby
seasons
Miller's
does
back.
not necessarily mean it's doing well.
Okay. Well, you've got that. Because we're on, what, the 9th or 10th season of this? All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Every day, approximately 23 U.S. military veterans take their own lives. Big Paws Canine Foundation is helping to decrease that number, providing service and companion dogs to our disabled veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Partnering a hero with a specifically trained dog significantly reduces the incidence of suicide, and your support makes all the difference. Find out how you can help our American heroes. Join the pack at BigPawsCanine.com.
Now, your scoop of the day brought to you by FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. Apple announced this week that the economic slowdown in China has weakened their sales of iPhones, Macs, and iPads. The situation has forced the tech giant to lower their financial guidance. Apple says the revenue for their fiscal first quarter will total only $84 billion, which is a little short of their $91.5 billion estimate. CEO Tim Cook explained to shareholders in a letter that the president's tariffs is what he's blaming, and he says that they appeared to have reached consumers in China and reduced retail sales there. I saw a post online that said Steve Jobs gave us the iPad, gave us the iPhone, and they went through this big long list of that, and it says Tim Cook has given us 17 more versions of what he already did. So they're saying, a lot of people are saying, it's not that it has a lot to do with the economy. It has to do with you're just rehashing the same product.
That's exactly right. Same thing over
I have
and
a
over
friend
and over.
who was an iPad, the iPhone user, but he switched over to Galaxy because he's like, they keep every new version, they take stuff away that I liked. It's like they're taking things away. So he switched. He's like, I'm gone. But they're blaming it on that. So I guess we'll see. Hopefully things go well because I know there's a lot of fans. Our daughter has an iPhone. We don't.
Yeah, I don't like the iPhone.
Well, and it's not so much that we like or don't like because if you had one, you'd
no,
learn
I've
to love
used it. I don't like it.
But we're just used to what we're used to. So sad news this week. We've got 3 different, not obituaries, but stories about obituaries, basically, that we're going to go through here because I wanted to take some time to do this. We didn't really do this at all, so now's the time. Comedian Bob Einstein died. Most people probably know him as Super Dave Osborne.
He was amazing.
Hilarious, super
loved
funny guy.
Super Dave.
Also, musician Daryl Dragon. He was Captain from Captain and Tennille. And Gene Okerlund, also known as Mean Gene Okerlund. Now, here's the thing that was interesting. All 3 of these men were 76 years old. They all died on Wednesday. And every one of them had a different name that they were known by, which I think is interesting, too. How bizarre is that?
Yeah.
So Bob Einstein, very funny man, had a battle with cancer. He was 76. The older brother of comic writer Albert Brooks, he launched his show business career as a writer on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour in the 1960s. Then he created a daredevil character named Super Dave Osborne. Remember that? He performed in sketch comedy specials. He was on Showtime. And then more recently, he was Marty Funkhauser. I kept saying Larry Funkhauser, but it's Marty Funkhauser. HBO's Curb Your Enthusiasm.
And I love that show, too.
I think that he seemed like a really neat guy, and I don't know what he was like in real life, if he was anything at all like any of the characters that he played, but super neat guy, and really sad. Again, Bob Einstein passed away Wednesday. Now, let's move down here. Daryl Dragon. He was best known as the Captain from Captain and Tennille, and he passed away on Wednesday of renal failure. He was also 76. His longtime partner and his ex-wife, Toni Tennille, in the duo Captain and Tennille. Their song "Love Will Keep Us Together" climbed to number 1 back in 1974, and it stayed there for number 1. What?
And then it didn't.
Yeah, "Love Will Keep Us Together," but I don't know. Something will drive us apart.
Something went down.
Well, that's too bad. But I think it's really, again, very sad that we lost him. And then, of the three, I think I've got a connection to Mean Gene Okerlund because he happens to be from the same state that I'm from, both from South Dakota. And growing up, I remember seeing him at events. It's not like we hung out or anything, but the world continues to mourn the loss of iconic host Mean Gene Okerlund. And if you're a wrestling fan, you know exactly who he was. It says a lot of people were trying to get him to get into politics because of all of his popularity, but he did not. He instead stayed, in wrestling, and when he got out of wrestling, he just retired. So, and I've got a link to a story about all of these. Again, I just thought that was really weird that they all happened to be 76, and all of them passed away on Wednesday of this week. So, very weird week. Thank you so much for listening to the Scoop of the Day right here on the John and Heidi Show.
At FunkyMonkeyShirts.com, we want to remind you it's never too early to start thinking about Valentine's Day. And what says I love you better than awesome, matching fun t-shirts? Get something for your sweetie and for you. We have several his and hers t-shirt designs to choose from at FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. Let the world know how much you love one another. And wear your heart on your sleeve. Well, at least on your shirt. With a little help from FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. That's FunkyMonkeyShirts.com.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We have a special guest joining us today, John D. Caldwell, and he's the author of a new book that just recently came out, Anatomy of Victory, Why the United States in World War II Fought to a Stalemate in Korea, Lost in Vietnam, and Failed in Iraq. Mr. Caldwell, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm talking to you from Santa Barbara, California.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to chat. And now the book that you put together here, let's talk a little bit about your background and what perspective this book is coming from.
Well, I was originally educated and trained as a political scientist, but most of the jobs I've had over the course of my life had very little to do with my training. I wound up in my salad days around 1968 working for a think tank in Vietnam, and so my first real job began in Saigon. That might have drawn a little more on my political science training, but most of my career has been spent working with scientists and engineers inside aerospace and defense corporations.
Wow, very cool. And the book that you just recently put out covers a pretty big span, really, when you think about it. It starts way back from World War II, where U.S. triumphed in World War II, and goes all the way through Iraq, which is a lot more recent. That's a pretty big span of time, isn't it?
It certainly is, about 75 years. Actually, it sort of spanned the course of my lifetime. And I wanted to do it coherently in a way that any reader could understand without having a lot of historical background about what has happened. World War II is the benchmark because there's never been any ambiguity about who won. Surrenders of the Axis powers in 1945 resulted in celebration and rejoicing. That was not the case with the conflicts that came after.
Now, one of the things that has happened over those, 75 years that we talk about here, great technological advancements. When you look at what machinery everyone was using back in, World War II and what they're using today, completely different, 100% different, really, isn't it?
Well, in many ways, yes, and in some ways, not so much. If you think about it, the armed forces that we deployed in Korea were pretty much organized the same way they were in World War II. In Vietnam, we deployed an army that was pretty much structured and organized and used the same doctrine it had to fight in Korea. When the changes, I think, started to come was in the leadership of the military as we got involved in the Iraqi conflicts that started in 1990.
And what would you say would be the biggest difference then between the way things were back in World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, and the way things have been since then?
We, of course, were in possession of nuclear weapons, but so were our principal adversaries, the Russians. But it created a kind of stability that lasted throughout this period where we never got involved in a direct shooting war with the Russians. We might have had proxy wars with them where both sides were fighting over pieces of territory around the world. Korea and Vietnam are certainly examples of that. But the real power that we possessed and had a monopoly on in 1945, our nuclear monopoly, monopoly lasted for only about 5 years, and then we had to accommodate ourselves to what we described to ourselves as limited conflicts in the case of Korea and Vietnam and Iraq, which was a different kind of problem altogether anyway, because it involved terrorism and adversaries that were much more difficult to define, and where conflict had few of the characteristics that you would find behind which there were secure areas and in front of which you kept trying to expand and push the enemy back. That wasn't the case during the Iraqi wars. The conflict could happen from anywhere. That was also true of Vietnam and somewhat true of Korea.
Again, our guest today, John D. Caldwell. He's the author of a new book called Anatomy of Victory, Why the United States Triumphed in World War II, Fought to a Stalemate in Korea, Lost in Vietnam, and Failed in Iraq. Now, you've spent a pretty long time, it says a 50-year career, studying American wars and working with think tanks and aerospace companies. So thank you for taking all of that time and effort that you've had over your lifetime and putting that into a book to help the rest of us kind of understand what's going on, too. I think that's really neat.
I hope it's helpful and a contribution to the literature, and I thank you so much for talking to me.
Absolutely. Again, John D. Caldwell has been our guest. I'm going to throw a link to the book in our show notes for today to make it really easy to find, and you'll find that on today's show notes page at johnandheidishow.com.
Cable and dish companies keep jacking up their rates. Join the cable cutting revolution with ChannelSurferTV.com. Watch TV with no monthly fee. Our DVR lets you record shows and pause live TV with no monthly fee. Want to stream movies? We have a device for that too. It works with Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, and many other streaming platforms, so you can cut the cable and save a ton of money every month. Learn more at ChannelSurferTV.com. That's ChannelSurferTV.com.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Gangster Al Capone's older brother, Jim, he went by the name Richard Two Gun Hart. Guess what his job was?
What?
He was a lawman in Nebraska, serving as a town marshal and a state sheriff.
Huh.
So his brother, Gangster Al Capone, and I knew about Richard Two Gun Hart. You know how I knew about him?
How?
From the TV show Timeless, which I really miss.
Oh, yeah, you liked that.
I loved that. And then they canceled it. And there are people saying
I'm not a fan of...
I thought it was cool. I don't know.
Futuristic,
any other Timeless
time
fans
travel
out there?
kind of...
Anybody? Nobody? Okay. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
At FunkyMonkeyShirts.com, we want to remind you it's never too early to start thinking about Valentine's Day and what says I love you better than awesome, matching fun t-shirts. Get something for your sweetie and for you. We have several his and hers t-shirt designs to choose from at FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. Let the world know how much you love one another and wear your heart on your sleeve. Well, at least on your shirt. With a little help from FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. That's FunkyMonkeyShirts.com.
Time now for Fear This. It's fun with phobias, Heidi. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Falcarophobia. Falcarophobia. P-H-A-L-A-C-R-O-P-H-O-B-I-A. Phalacrophobia. I probably said it wrong every time I said it. Phalacrophobia. What do you think that is?
Is that a fear of the male organ?
No.
No?
It's probably... like follicle-ophobia. If I would say that, would that help? Maybe it's pronounced more
hair?
like yeah, the fear of going bald. Follicrophobia, but it's P-H-A-L-A-C-R-O-P-H-O-B-I-A, phallicrophobia.
Well, you said phallic, so I was
but
thinking
I think that's
different.
I don't know if that's maybe it is a fear of baldness. I don't know. That is today's Fear This Fun Phobia. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Want a good laugh to start every day? We do, and you can too. Be sure to follow WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com on Facebook. Every morning we send out our Weird Gift of the Day. You don't even have to buy anything. You can just follow our page and laugh at the bizarre real gift items we find and share every morning. And maybe you can share them with your friends who have a good sense of humor too. We have a link to make it easy to find us at WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. That's WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com.
Now, some weird news brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. A Massachusetts man accused of robbing a bank branch with a stick was captured after he fell out of a tree. Whoa. There's a lot going on in that headline. 30-year-old Michael V. Taylor was arrested Monday after a 4-hour search by police from 5 different apartments, charged with armed robbery, resisting arrest, and failure to stop for police. He allegedly demanded money from a teller at the People's Bank at about 9:30 in the morning. His weapon, this was on Christmas Eve, by the way, was a stick. He then fled the bank in a red Jeep, and soon after, State Police Lieutenant tried to pull him over, but he refused to stop. He allegedly stopped the Jeep and then ran across the highway into the woods. That set off an intensive search for this man, and they had canines involved. They were looking for hours. This little hide-and-seek game stayed going for a long time. But then the tree branch that he was standing on snapped and dropped him to the ground. A stack of stolen cash was in hand. He tried to run away from police, but this time he was apprehended. So he used a stick to rob a bank?
Apparently.
So that would be the official stick-up, if you know what I mean.
Oh, my gosh.
This is a stick.
This is a stick-up.
Up. There you go. This is today's Weird News, brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com.
John and Heidi.
Now, your moment of duh, brought to you by FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. Hey, this was also on Christmas Eve. Our Weird News was from Christmas Eve. So was this.
Okay.
A crappy prank that went bad. I did air quotes. That doesn't transfer to radio.
I know.
Landed this guy in jail. Firefighters and police were dispatched when a bag of dog poo was lit afire on a porch.
Okay.
A female tenant told police she woke up when she heard somebody yelling, "Call 911 and get out of the house." The fire was extinguished. There was no damage to the residence. But who might have set this on fire? Well, an 18-year-old Dylan Prince. Due to them having a little falling out that night, she told him, "You can't stay here no more." So he left, but he came back with a brown paper bag from a Chinese food place.
And what was that supposed to do exactly? Did he think that would entice her to welcome him back in?
He put some dog feces from the yard into the bag, lit it on fire with a Bic lighter, and then split. So, bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's going to take you back.
Sweetie, you might have made the right decision by getting rid of that kid.
Pretty much. Thanks for listening. This is today's Moment of Duh.
Every day, approximately 23 U.S. military veterans take their own lives. Big Paws Canine Foundation is helping to decrease that number, providing service and companion dogs to our disabled veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Partnering a hero with a specifically trained dog significantly reduces the incidence of suicide, and your support makes all the difference. Find out how you can help our American heroes. Join the pack at BigPawsCanine.com.
Time now for the dad joke of the day. By the way, thank you to everybody who has sent in.
Oh my
really
gosh,
good
it was
dad
ridiculous.
Jokes.
You got so
you
many.
You should see the ones I'm getting through email. I mean, there's some people that don't want to put their name online where everybody can read it. But yeah, if you want to submit one, I'll tell you how in a second. But here, Heidi, if a child refuses to sleep during nap time, are they guilty of resisting arrest? Arrest?
I get it. I see what you did there.
I didn't do it. Don't blame me. Hey, if you've got a dad joke you'd like to share, John at JohnandHeidiShow.com. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to JohnandHeidiShow.com. Again, JohnandHeidiShow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
Time now for some good news brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. And I've got a list here. I keep forgetting to look at this to see. But our Weird Gift of the Day, let's see. How about this one? A witch spoon holder. That was one of them for this weekend. A witch spoon holder.
A witch spoon holder.
Yeah, it's a little spoon holder, but there's like a witch holding the spoon. It kind of looks like she's riding a broom. It's kind of interesting. Here's a cool story. Delivery man goes above and beyond with a simple box to make a boy's dream come true. It says, empathetic employee is being hailed for delivering more than just packages to a Mississippi family. More specifically, he went out of his way to deliver a box to a 6-year-old boy. Wendy Bailey recently made a Facebook post about how her son, Brandon, had been wanting for their Christmas family, had been waiting, rather, for their family's new refrigerator to be delivered because he wanted the box so he could build a fort.
Okay.
So for 2 weeks, he waited patiently. And then when that person showed up to deliver the package, there was no box. So they show up, and there's no box on the refrigerator.
Oh,
and he was really bummed out.
I
but
bet
that's
he
when
was.
The guy delivering was like, you know what, we're going to make sure we get him a box. And they actually came back specifically to bring him a box. How cool is that?
That's very cool.
So he went above and beyond. This young man from Lowe's went above and beyond. He went out of his way to go back and get this kid a box. He said, every boy needs an awesome box fort. So how cool is that?
That's very cool.
Did you ever have a box fort when you were growing up?
Oh, my gosh. We played with boxes all the time.
When I was a kid, that's, we used our imagination to play with just about anything we could come up with. And we would make things, we would turn things into toys that were never, ever intended to be toys. So I think that's a good thing. I've got a link to that story in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.